Let's do this.
Have you ever wondered how your 911 call finds its way to the right place? Like magic? Spoiler alert, it's really not magic. It's logic. In today's episode, we're going to be comparing the dusty old Selective Router from your granddad's E911 network to its snazzy, IP-savvy cousin, the Emergency Services Routing Proxy, or ESRP. Buckle up. We're diving into tech history, public safety style. That's coming up next on this episode of TiPS, Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories in public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch. I'm an ENP, and I'm the Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I bring you the latest, most informative, and sometimes controversial takes on emergency communications. Today, we're going to school to brush up on two critical but often misunderstood routing elements in the 911 world. One old, one new, but both vital. Let's face it, most people don't know or even give a second thought about how a 911 call gets from their phone to a dispatcher's headset. But that journey that the call takes can mean the difference between help that arrives on time or being sent the wrong way. And that's why not only 911 engineers, but corporate IT folks need to start to understand the technology. And today we're going to start with the difference between the legacy Selective Router, or SR, and the next generation Emergency Services Routing Proxy, known as the ESRP. Routing calls based on location. Probably one of the more important functions of any 911 network, the E911 SRs use a magic combination of something called ANI, known as Automatic Number Identification or Caller ID, and the MSAG, or Master Street Address Guide database. Think of this like trying to navigate using a printed map from 1996, if you can remember that. It works, unless you're mobile, or the roads have changed, or the address that you're looking for isn't in the book. Now, next-gen 911 ESRPs, on the other hand, are like GPS with real-time traffic data. They use GIS, or Geographic Information Systems, which is data from another NG911 functional element called the Emergency Call Routing Function, or ECRF. So instead of routing based on a phone number that's pre-assigned to an address, something that doesn't even happen anymore, except for billing information, ESRPs figure out exactly where you are, even if you're calling from the top floor of a parking garage or a kayak in the middle of a bay. You don't need a phone number, and you don't need an address. Think about that for a second. You're not looking to get mail, you're looking to get a paramedic or a fireman. Then there's call diversion and overflow handling. Back in the SR days, if a 911 call PSAP went down or became overloaded, the calls would reroute. Sort of. But only if someone remembered to update the trunk group. And then, only if that predetermined backup site wasn't also down. It was like rerouting traffic through a one-lane detour with a cone and a prayer. NG911 ESRPs changed the game through another functional element called the Policy Routing Function, or PRF, that held rules. The ESRP used these rules to dynamically assess PSAP availability, network conditions, or even time of day patterns, allowing it to make smarter, more flexible decisions. It's like Waze for emergency calls, without the annoying
Police reported ahead.
Starting to get the picture here? Next is integration with location databases. Those legacy SRs, well, they're dependent on the ALI, or Automatic Location Identification, and MSAG, Master Street Address Guide databases. And let's face it, those are updated by, well, let's just say, very patient people. Sometimes those take days to update, and that's just not how we live our lives today. If you've ever tried to change your address in 5 different government databases all at once, you can understand the pain. Next-gen ESRPs? Well, they're playing in the cloud with real-time GIS data, pulling in info from the ECRF and verifying it with the LVF, location validation function. It's instant, it's accurate, and it means the call is routed based on where you are, not just where someone once said you'd be. Here's an important one: accurate call delivery to 911 PSAPs. The legacy SRs aim for accuracy. They mean well, but they're also like your aunt trying to send a group text. Technically, it's possible, but things can often go sideways. The next-gen 911 ESRPs, by contrast, are engineered for accuracy. They use logic, location, and live data that determines the right PSAP every time. And in high-stakes situations, that precision could save seconds and lives. Then there's the infrastructure design. Here's the kicker. Legacy selective routers are part of the circuit switch legacy E911 system. They're solid but very inflexible, kind of like trying to run a Zoom session on fax machines. ESRPs belong to the NG911 family, built on IP networks known as ESINets, or Emergency Services IP networks. They allow for interoperability, multimedia data like text, video, IoT alerts, and most of all, they're scalable for future tech. Basically, the ESRP is ready for tomorrow, today. And the selective router is kind of like me, hoping retirement's coming soon. I hope I set a ground level of expectation for the value of next generation 911 and why it's important to upgrade our PSAPs, upgrade our networks, and upgrade our enterprise communications networks that feed the important data into this infrastructure. And quite frankly, that's the value that next generation 911 is able to deliver through the 911 Inform emergency event management solution, where our focus is to bridge the gap between today and tomorrow. That wraps up today's episode of TiPS, Today in Public Safety. Thanks so much for listening. If you want more updates and insights, remember to follow me on social media at Fletch911, and you can visit 911tips.com for a complete archive of all of my previous episodes. Stay safe, thanks so much for listening, and if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. This is Fletch. I'll catch you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Catch past episodes on 911tips.com. That's 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on Sirius XM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10 spot, and on the Weekend Countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good. TiPS is brought to you by 911 Inform, the leading next-generation 911 solution for enterprise compliance with federal 911 regulations. Visit them on the web at 911inform.com. 911 Inform, making every second count when it matters the most.